Starfield came out last September and it was tipped as having the potential to be one of the best RPGs in a generation. And when they released their deep dive into the game a couple of months before the actual release, the hype train was in full force. But come release, it turned out the game wasn't what we expected at all, and the player fall off straight after launch was monumental to say the least. Especially for a Bethesda game. But fast forward to the present day, we're about to get our hands on by far the largest update to the game since it launched, and it addresses many of the game's frustrations raised by players, along with some essential quality of life improvements and bug fixes. It even showcased some big hints about the upcoming DLC, meaning this could be the start of its much needed redemption arc. So let's get stuck into what's going to be new. And first up, the biggest and probably the most requested feature as part of this huge update must be the new surface maps feature. Pre-update, if we were exploring a large city like New Atlantis as an example, to get to various landmarks or points of interest we had to basically remember where it was and how to get there, because the map, if we can even call it that, was because it was just a blank dot matrix which didn't prove useful whatsoever, didn't show us where to go. I often found myself just fast travelling around the place to avoid having to navigate these places, but now Bethesda have listened to the players and they've introduced a vastly improved satellite type surface maps with pins to denote different landmarks and points of interest. In addition to these surface maps, players will be able to see these landmarks through their scanners, making it far easier to find that specific location they're after. Each one is going to display an icon and the distance by default, and if you roll over that icon, you're given yet more information about it, which can make your heads up display seem a little bit crowded, but it's certainly worth it for the information you get from it. And from the little snippet shown off in the video Bethesda released recently, it absolutely looks like a huge improvement, and I'm hoping it makes navigating around these big towns and cities far easier, whilst also encouraging us to go exploring just that little bit more and not using fast travel as much. So how about the visuals in Starfield? Let's be honest, they aren't the best. I mean, they're not bad, but we've certainly seen better elsewhere. But I must admit, sometimes I do just stand on a planet's surface and look up into the stars just to enjoy the view. But with that said, Starfield can still be a very demanding game on the Xbox Series S's slightly weaker specs, whereas PC players can twiddle and tweak the displays and performance settings as they see fit. But the good news for Xbox players, like myself, is this update brings new graphics options in the form of visual mode and performance mode. And as you'd probably expect, the visual mode provides better graphics at a slight cost of performance, whereas performance mode is the exact opposite. It will provide better performance with a slight cost of the graphics. At least console players now have the choice between the two, like quite a lot of other games. The inventory menus in Starfield have left little to be desired, and even though it's reasonably straightforward to navigate through them, but sometimes it wasn't always totally clear what was going on. Were you selling to a merchant? Were you buying from them? What? This new update brings a little nice quality of life improvement to the menu by having very clearly labelled tabs at the top of the merchant menu, so you absolutely know if you're buying or selling. It isn't often players accidentally bought or sold a resource that way either, but it's super easy to understand now, and it's also a little nice improvement. If you're a Starfield player who has completed the story and you've decided to dive back into the story again via New Game Plus, yes, I know folks, some players actually do that with Starfield in its current state. Anyway, previously players were stuck with the character from their original save, minus changing a few perks. But now, with this new update, they'll be able to change their playstyle completely if they so desired. It is only a one-time thing per playthrough, but it's certainly improvement for fans of New Game Plus based on what is there previously. Now let's say you're incredibly good at gun-based combat in Starfield, but you're not so good at the space combat side of things. A bit like me, to be honest. Previously you had one difficulty setting for each, so you may have found one aspect a bit easier than the other, and the other one incredibly difficult. Well, this latest update, if you so desired, you can in fact change the difficulty of each individually. And on top of that, if you didn't find Starfield challenging enough as it is, they've decided to add an even higher difficulty mode known as Extreme. Apparently it's significantly tougher than the very hard mode, so if you're brave enough, dive back into it in Extreme mode and see how you do. One of the main features of Starfield, or perhaps one of the most exciting features of it after we got a look into the deep dive, was the sheer depth of ship customization offered by the game. Like, you can literally design anything you want, and as long as it all fits and works together, you can then go ahead and fly it around the settled systems to your heart's content. Now, even though ship customization was probably one of the best features of a so far lackluster game, one thing was still missing from it, and that was interior customization. You can probably guess where things are going here. Good news, folks, Bethesda are going to be adding interior ship customization. So now we can customize them similarly to how you would customize your very own outpost. I mean, we probably all spend more time on our ships anyway. One feature that will not be part of this major update, but it was teased in the update video, so we know we're going to be getting it in the near future, and it's certainly a feature that I think is definitely needed, is the introduction of land-based vehicles. Whenever you land on a planet, you're usually met with vast stretches of nothingness between points of interest, and getting to them was a laborious task, but a land-based vehicle will certainly do away with all of that, so I'm very excited to see what that's like when it eventually gets added into the future, perhaps as part of the teased DLC, and maybe we might even get to customize them as well, who knows. Now, those were some of the main parts of the major update, but there have of course been a bunch of much needed bug fixes and other quality of life improvements that have been, are going to be shipped along with it to make Starfield a little bit better. So if you want to know the full details on those, visit the update link that I've added in the description of this video. Overall, this major Starfield update has introduced some much needed features and enhancements, and it's hopefully the beginning in making Starfield an all-round far better game. Lord knows it needs them. It even includes teasers with the land-based vehicles, which we've all wanted for some time, and it's about time an update of this scale was actually added to the game. But with all that being said, what are your guys' thoughts on this major Starfield update? Are you willing to give the game another chance with these improvements, or are you still thinking of avoiding it until even more improvements and updates have been added? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And there you have it, folks. There are the main features of this much needed huge Starfield update. Hopefully it's a first step into redemption for this game, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck back into it once it drops. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and if you are still here, it would be totally awesome if you could support my channel by hitting those like and subscribe buttons. You can now become a channel member as well, and as always, thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you in the next one.